What's up guys? This is Evan with Backwoods Adventure Mods. We're going to go through an installation of our 3rd Gen Tundra rock sliders. These fit the 22 to current Tundra with the CrewMax cab, and they're compatible with the hybrid. They're also a bolt-on installation. Now in my opinion, this should be one of the first mods you do to your truck for 2 main reasons: utility and protection. So utility, from a daily driver, from an on-road perspective, you're going to use these, you're going to step on them every day. From a protection point of view, off-road, the bottom of your doors and the rocker panels are one of the most vulnerable areas. If you damage that and break that seal, it's going to give you problems with water intrusion, road noise, and it's going to be a really costly body shop repair. Even if you have factory steps, those aren't adequate because they only mount to the body and they're just a mix of plastic, steel, and aluminum. So adding something like this will provide the protection you need. The third hybrid is because, just like the rest of our products, this is a combination of steel and aluminum. So the main body, the main assembly of the rock slider, of the step, is high quality, high strength DOM steel. The top plate is 1/8 inch aluminum, which is good for weight savings, and it's the area that you're going to scuff up the most with your feet, so you'll never have to worry about rust. Now, a quick comparison to the factory step. You can see the weight difference. You can't just pick up and twirl the rock sliders like this. This is a mixture of plastic and aluminum and a little bit of steel, and it only bolts to the body, whereas the rock sliders bolt to and around the frame. When you open the box, you'll get, of course, both sliders and both top plates, which, by the way, are always going to be powder coated in the same high quality black texture powder coat that we use across the board. You'll also get the necessary hardware and brackets, which we'll go over in detail. As far as tools needed, it's just a basic socket and wrench set. And you either want a buddy to help you because they're kind of awkward to position and bolt up by yourself. If you don't have a helper, at least grab some jack stands to hold the weight while you position everything. Before we get any further in the video, I want to let you know that the install process from the hybrid to the non-hybrid is really similar, with a couple key differences near the front of the sliders, and we'll get to those later in the video. The first step is putting the top plates on. There's a couple bolts that you can't really access to put this on once it's on the truck, so do it first. We're going to use these 1/4-20 black stainless bolts with the nylock nuts. So this is really simple. You're just going to drop all the bolts in from the top side, get them all dropped in and started before you tighten it down. And you're going to use a 5/32 Allen and a 7/16 socket. So I'm just going to go through and drop every bolt in. We'll get all the nuts started and then we'll tighten them all down. The driver's side and the passenger side are pretty different as far as how the installation goes. So we're going to start with the driver's side. I've just got it set roughly in place here. It's going to need to scoot forward. But just to illustrate, you have these members of the body that hang down. They'll align with these big notches in the side plate. So that's going to help you position these front to back. After that, you're just looking for the holes in the frame that line up with the holes in the mounts. And they're usually covered up with these plastic caps. So just go through with a flathead or a trim tool and pop these caps out, and then we'll be able to set the steps in place and line up the bolt holes. There's also going to be matching caps on the inside of the frame, so don't forget to grab those too. Now we're going to hang it on the frame. This driver's side, you can actually kind of hang in position and it'll kind of stay there for you. So this is where it's helpful to have a friend. We're going to get it roughly in place and let it sit there while we make a few adjustments. So at this point, you can probably let it go or let it rest on your jack stands. And you can see there's going to be a through bolt here at this back mount. Then on the front 2 mounts, here and here, the holes should line up. We're going to scoot the step forward just a little bit. There. All right, so we've got it in place, aligned closely to the holes. We're going to let it hang and grab our bracketry and hardware. So if you have the non-hybrid, you'll just use this through bolt like you'll see in the video. But if you have a hybrid, this cross member is moved back from the non-hybrid location. So you actually can't put anything through that hole because it kind of dead ends into this cross member. So for the hybrid trucks, we're going to use the clamp-on style front bracket. And so you'll use this tab that's bent over on the outside of the frame rail and this extension on the inside of the frame rail. And this Z-shaped bracket will sandwich it. Now on the driver's side, it's a little tricky to get in there because of the exhaust. So I'm going to put it up into place back here. And then notice over here, there's some lines. You want to make sure and get that under the lines. Then I'm going to push it forward into place. Then you're going to use your second to longest bolts. Run them from the bottom up for clearance. With of course, a flat washer on the bolt end, and then another flat washer on the top, and a lock nut. And the same thing on the front. These are going to use a 3/4 inch tool. I'm just going to get them both snug down before I tighten either one. I'm just going to make sure that the parts are kind of in line, nice and straight, one above the other. And I'm going to go back and forth a little bit and get it completely tightened down. And that's it. We'll do the same thing on the passenger side. Just a quick note, on top of the frame there's some lines. Make sure that the top of that C-shaped mount goes under those lines. You want it on top of the frame but under the lines so they don't get pinched. Now we're going to use this bracket to sandwich the frame between the frame mount of the slider and this bracket. There's only one of these that has a hole in it. That's going to be for this front bracket. You can see there's going to be a through bolt here. I'm going to put this one in first because it's going to kind of hold everything together. So I'm going to put the bolt in from the outside, then when it comes through, we'll let it go into this bracket. Okay, lift up and push in, perfect. Then we'll use the shorter bolts and nuts to go through the top and bottom of this bracket. All right, now I'm going to drop a bolt down from the top and up from the bottom to finish sandwiching this together. Pushing in a little more, perfect. Now I'm going to go through and do the same on the middle and this back bracket here. There we go. Back here at the very back bracket, it only clamps on the bottom and through the frame. So it's going to go, and there's only one way it can go in, but we're going to put it in just like this so that the big through bolt comes out through this hole and this little leg sits on top of the main bracket. This big muffler here makes it pretty tricky, but it's doable. Lastly, we'll do the very front bracket, and it's just a simple through bolt. And because there's such a big hole in the frame, we've got this oversized washer. And then the flat washer and the nut. With all the bolts in, it's basically self-aligned, so now it's just time to tighten all the bolts down. I'm going to start with the through bolts that go horizontally through the frame to pinch those together, and then we'll come through and tighten the top and bottom bolt. Onto the passenger side. We've already removed the plastic plugs from the outside and inside of the frame, and this side has a couple little brackets and wires we're going to temporarily remove. So this bracket that holds this giant wire loom, we're going to take this out, this 12mm bolt. A little further forward there's a big ground wire. We're going to temporarily pull that out, and then just below that, underneath the fuel tank, this part's not necessary but it really helps. There's a little support for the fuel tank that we're also going to temporarily take off. Now we're just going to hang this on the frame. In order to do that, we're going to put the big cross bolts through the frame, and then that should support the weight. So it's going to be the very front two large holes and the rearmost hole, and those are going to correspond with the big holes through the frame. So grab a buddy, set it in place, and put the bolts through. All right. There's one. This is the front mount. This is just gonna hold it from falling for the time being. Now these 5 metric bolts with a washer, they're gonna correspond with these 5 holes along the bottom rail. Those are going into threaded holes in the bottom of the frame. So I'm gonna scoot it back just a little bit and get these started. This is a 13mm wrench. These Toyota threads are notoriously a little tight. They have paint in them. So take your time, make sure you don't cross thread these bolts, but it'll probably take a wrench to get them started. We've got these 2 brackets with the square holes in them. They're not necessary to use, but they definitely make it easier. The square holes are for these cage nuts. So these are gonna go into positions where we can't necessarily get a wrench as easily. I'm gonna prep these by putting the cage nuts in ahead of time. Just squeeze and it'll pop in. And on this one, I'm gonna put it in from the top, meaning this little leg is pointing down. I'll drop the cage nut in from the top in that orientation. There. You can choose where you want to use these. I think it's easiest to use this one at the back of the truck and this one on the second mount. So I've got this bracket off. I'm just gonna slide this in here and use it instead of the traditional nut. And we're at the very back mount. This little leg here is gonna go in this recess and keep it from spinning when we tighten it down. And it allows you to reach up way in there to where the bolt is. Our next move is gonna be to tighten down those 3 big cross bolts. Now we're gonna put the accessories back in that we took out to start with, and that's gonna be the bracket for the wire loom and the ground cable and the bracket that helps support the fuel tank. So there's a hole in the mount for the bolt to sandwich between the original bracket and the frame. And that's our 12mm socket again. The last step, we're just going to snug down these 5 on the bottom. As always, go back through and make sure that you've tightened down all your bolts. And that wraps it up. Thanks for watching. For any questions, reach out to us at backwoodsadventuremods.com. 3rd gen Tundra. Make sure that you've torqued down all your bolts and stare off into the distance. Man, cut. What the is wrong with that bolt? And they're, oh man, I was rolling. The 3rd hybrid is because these are using a, dang it man, I was so close. Let's get started. You can just cut that. Let's get it started in here.